Hello again and welcome to Waltrip Unfiltered. So happy you joined us for our podcast today. We've got a great guest, a guy that set the NASCAR world on its ears last weekend when he won down in Texas. How about that? Greg Biffle goes to victory lane in a truck, hasn't competed since 2004. Heck, he's retired, and he's able to grab that victory. I can't wait to talk to Greg about that big truck win, plus all of his history in NASCAR. He grew up out in Washington and somehow made his way to NASCAR. I know one guy that was key to that transition from the West Coast to NASCAR. That was Benny Parsons. We'll talk to Greg about that. Plus, so much fun through this point in NASCAR. So many great races. I loved what I saw at Michigan. Now, I know Joey Logano dominated. And you might say, not a great race. But listen, he dominated and won by a car length or so. It reminded me of the win that Brad Keselowski had at Martinsville. Do you remember that? He dominated, led over 400 laps. Chase Elliott almost ran him down at the end. Drama, excitement, that's what I'm all about. And I loved what I saw in Michigan, and I can't wait to head to wine country. Maybe tip a few back, watch the boys go left and right. It'll be out of hand. Stay tuned. Can't wait for you to listen to Greg Biffle.
Green flag, green flag.
I'm so honored to have Greg Biffle join me on the Waltrip Unfiltered podcast. Thank you so much for coming by and saying hello.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't pass up the opportunity.
Well, we have this TV history, right?
Right.
We did Inside, was it Inside Winston Cup when we did it?
I think so. Inside Winston Cup, Inside Nextel Cup.
Yeah. Whatever
Whatever those were. The only thing we were just missing Kenny.
Yeah.
Sitting right
Schrader's
Kenny
the best,
Schrader.
was the best part of the whole show.
Golly.
Getting his honesty. But we did that for Speed back in 02, 3, 4. I don't remember. 4 or 5 probably.
Yep.
And let's just start there. You came to NASCAR in the late 90s, driving for Jack Roush. And my favorite part about Greg Biffle getting to NASCAR was my buddy Benny Parsons. I mean, everybody talks about his endorsement of you and him watching you in winter heat back on the West Coast.
Yep.
The old ESPN days
Yep.
of NASCAR coverage in January. And he said, somebody better hire this guy. This guy's good. What do you recall from that in those days?
It's a neat story. So anybody can like Benny Parsons.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a conversation with him and you're instantly friends. So I got an opportunity, he came. So there's so many things about this that is, he's a special character.
Yeah.
He comes down out of the booth and whatever you want to say. And on practice day, he's walking through the garage area. We're at a short track in the middle of nowhere, Tucson, Arizona. And he's walking up and down, talking to people, talking to the racers, because he was a racer. He loved that.
Yeah.
And, the other TV commentators weren't doing that. He was by himself, and he did it in the Cup days. He'd stroll through the garage and get the scoop and talk to the guys. So I became pretty good friends with him. And
how old were you then? You were 20.
I was 23, 24, 22. And so we kind of hit it off, and I'm like, "Hey, Benny, how do I get an opportunity? How do I get?" Because the truck series started right then.
Right.
That was the first year or second year of the trucks, and I said, "How can I get a chance to get a truck ride?" And we talked about it. And to be honest with you, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said, "I'll pass your name around," and kind of casually and we talked a little bit about it, whatever was said. But the conversation between Jack, as the story goes, Jack and Benny Parsons, they passed each other in the garage in Michigan. And Jack said to Benny, "Hey, I wasn't able to sign Tommy Kendall for my third truck team. He wants to live in L.A. or in California or whatever. He doesn't want to move back here to Redneckville." And Jack said, I'm going to hire someone else. And Benny Parsons said, "Hey, don't forget about that kid I told you about out in Washington."
Yeah.
And that was it. He told Jeff Smith, "Call and hire the kid." No resume.
Sight unseen?
No resume. No. They asked me if I could send a photo of myself.
So the story's even better.
A photo.
When I hear it, and I'm like, Benny was talking about Greg on TV, and Jack hired him. Well, I just assumed there was a lot more to it than that, but really
Yeah.
there isn't.
Yeah. They were passing through the garage area, and he said, hey, don't forget about that kid. He'll do you a good job. And Jack, if Jack wasn't the character he is, if that would have been Mr. H, Mr. Hendrick, or Coach Gibbs or someone else, they would have been, they might have looked into it, but Jack's like, hire him.
Yeah.
You
don't think it had anything to do with the fact that your middle name is Jack, do it?
I don't know. I doubt it.
So how did you get to winter heat? What you had raced as a kid? What kind of equipment did you have? Did you have everything you needed to win? And that's you were just on a roll.
I did, and I think that's what impressed Benny Parsons is. I started a business when I was 19 building race cars because I loved fabricating. My parents owned a small welding shop. So I worked on cars, knew how to weld, knew how to fabricate. And so I started building my own cars. And then people were like, will you build me a car? So I started building cars for other people. And then I recognized that's what I want to do. And so I was building cars for customers.
Who are some of the guys you built winning race cars for out on the West Coast? Because I know all those names.
Man, there was a handful of them. But, I built Kyle Busch a car. Wow. And that Star Nursery. So out of a 32-car field, I had about 15 cars from across the U.S. There were people from North Carolina.
And is this Tucson?
That was Tucson winter heat.
Right.
So people would come, champions or people would come from all over. And about 13 to 15 of the main event cars there was 90 cars.
Yeah.
And about 13 of them that made the main event were my chassis that we built in Portland, Oregon. And
so you dreamed of racing NASCAR.
I dreamed of it, absolutely.
Like a lot of kids, I had Tyler Reddick on and Christopher Bell,
yep.
Kyle Larson, and they're like, I don't know, we kind of wanted to be dirt racers. We wanted to race World of Outlaws, but
sure.
You were a short track pavement guy
yep.
from the Northwest, and you were like, I want to get to NASCAR.
Right, and the short local track was the Winston Racing Series. So I raced in the Winston Racing Series every week. Mm-hmm. And that pavement, Friday, Saturday night stuff gave me the want to, go race NASCAR.
Well, so you knew you could build the best cars because everybody was buying them. Did you have, I'm just curious at that, you're like, I could win. I'm a really good driver too.
I felt like it, right?
Yeah.
You felt like you could win, and I won in, kind of every level. And you have to be able to get to the next level. Right. You have to be winning here. Like that's what Kyle's saying about his trucks, right? If you can't win here, how are you going to get in the Xfinity cars, and how are you going to get a chance at the Cup? Mm-hmm. Very few guys have not done well and skipped over. And one guy that comes to mind is Jimmy Johnson. He didn't set the world on fire in an Xfinity car.
Yeah.
But he did in a Cup car.
Right away.
So, so you have to produce results. And I won in, street stocks and limited sportsman and won in the late models. I won 2 track championships in the same year and won that winter heat series 2 years in a row. So that kind of, I felt like I could. And it's funny, when I got my chance to race in the truck series, I had pretty instant success. I ran top 5 or 6, and then it was very humbling after that. And I thought to myself, I'm like, how can I ever compete with these top 4 or 5 trucks? Because they were so much better than me. And then a couple years later, I got to where I was winning races and competing with them. Then I went to the Xfinity Series, and I said the same thing. Now I'm running 8th or 10th, and I'm like, how can I ever compete with these guys? And then we went to Cup. I'm 25th, and I'm like, how am I ever gonna, be able to win races over here?
Yeah, but you're a little bit hard on yourself, because in '98 when you went truck racing, you won. You didn't win any races, like you said. You had some top 5s, but you won 4 poles, and that's the most poles any rookie had won. And so you're like, all right, well maybe okay. And then in '99 you won 9 races.
Yeah.
And you did something that Kyle Busch has never done, which I don't think any trucker, maybe other than you, can say this.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the championships, because he doesn't compete full time. You won 9 races in 1999, but not the championship. And then 2000, of course, you come back and got the championship. So while it was difficult, you were certainly on pace.
Figuring it out as it went, but it's so humbling when you get there. You know, you think, okay, I got this. You know, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. And then so you win the truck championship, you win the Xfinity championship, and so my first, I watched you do all that, and I knew Greg's a talented racer. He'll be a Cup driver. It's like today, for example, Christopher Bell. Eric
Absolutely
Jones.
going to be a great Cup driver with enough experience. He gets in the right equipment. He's going to be competing.
No doubt.
Right.
And we said the same thing about Eric Jones, and
Yep.
he's already won. And
Yep.
we've said the same thing about William Byron, and he's going to be a winner.
Yep.
So you just see these kids come along, and
Yep.
you're like, they get it. And
Yep.
and you were certainly one of those, and respected that. But my first Greg Biffle memory that sticks out and always has was Daytona 2003 July. Now, that was a good night for you.
It was a very good night for me.
But let me tell you what I remember. So I'm running, and there's a green flag pit stop or something. I'm pretty sure it's a green flag pit stop. And I come out behind you, and you're a rookie. And we go down into turn 3, and you literally ran through the high banks of Daytona sideways. Like, your car was so loose. It was hanging out. It was, and mine was perfect. And I'm like, yeah, you watch this. I'll eat him up here in a lap or two. He's going to bust his rear. I'm going to win this race. Well, you did it for a couple more laps, and then you drove away from me. And I was just like, how can a man, I mean, we're not talking about being at Bristol and hanging out.
Right.
We're at Daytona. Do you
I
remember that night?
Oh, I remember that night, and I don't know how I did either because I was scared to death.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna wreck any minute,
No doubt.
and I don't.
It didn't seem like it made you lift off the gas any, though.
No, I wanted to win so bad.
Yeah, that was a big night.
I wanted to win so bad. Probably shouldn't have had an 1.25 inch front bar in it.
Right?
It's probably a little bit small for that track.
Yeah, just think if you showed someone an 1.25 inch front bar now.
Yeah.
They'd say, "What's that?"
Yeah.
It looks
is that a pry bar?
I was going to say, look like a toothpick.
Yeah.
The sway bars we run now are like that big, and so it's just a different world. But hanging onto that car and winning that night, it's weird how little things.
Yep.
So when I was coming, I was like, "Oh, cool! I get to talk to Biff." I wanted to remind you of that story.
Yeah, that was a tough night. That was a tough night, but it was a great night. Being able to, first Cup win.
And it coming at Daytona, what better place in the world to win than Daytona?
Yep. We can all talk about it. We've almost won everywhere so many times, but man, I've been so close to that 500.
Right.
You know, they changed the rule of the green, white, checkered, and I was leading when the white came out. I was leading the second time when the white came out.
Holy cow.
Mick Murray was leading the third time, when we came across. So yeah, it's so many of those moments.
But at least you got a couple of Southern 500s.
Yep.
Those are huge.
Those are tough.
I mean, in NASCAR, you want to win the Daytona 500, you want to win the Southern 500, and you want to win the World 600.
Yep.
In my eyes, and you having success in the Southern 500, that's probably maybe arguably the toughest to win.
It is a tough racetrack.
Yeah.
The old pavement I won on the old pavement, new pavement.
I know your foundation does so much to help animals, animal rescue, and folks to adopt animals. You got a big event coming up. What all's going on in your world with your foundation?
Well, as we've talked, it's been all these years, the 6 years between, when Emma was 1 and Emma's 7 now. We've been working on, it seems like even longer than that, been working on a facility in North Carolina. We've raised money with the NASCAR Pet Calendar and helped organizations all over the U.S., and we've done that for a long time. But our second focus also was a facility in North Carolina where we could help, adopt animals out and rescue animals and pull them out of the shelter and take, some folks get in a situation where they can't have the animal anymore and have to, unfortunately, find another rehome. So our organization is Lake Norman Humane, and we're having a grand opening the 19th of June, and we're super excited about it. Highway 21 is our new facility. We were able to buy 7 acres there,
Wow.
all fenced, and we redid the building that was on site. It was an old Overcash Electric building. So we've acquired that property and raised a lot of money, and we're finally ready to cut the ribbon. And it's been a long time, and without your help and everybody else's help, you've been in the pet calendar, and all of the drivers have helped a tremendous amount, and we've done a lot of events. I know you've been at the Mountain Property event, so this is a dream come true for me.
And opening this property, that's got to be crazy fulfilling and rewarding. Like you said, a dream come true.
It is. The board's worked really hard. I've been on the board for 12 years, and we've, we went through the downturn and kind of came out of that. And we've got a facility now, but this new facility is something we've been trying to do for a long time, and we're finally here.
That's awesome.
Can't wait.
Can't wait to see everything that's going on with your new facility. 7 acres and a fenced-in area for the pets. That's awesome.
Yeah, wait till you see it. It's you're gonna want to live there. It's nice, and we adopt so many animals out. We're so happy that we saved so many animals. This facility is going to help us do even better job.
That's cool. Racing is about giving.
Yep.
We see it all the time, whether Ryan Newman has a big animal rescue ranch that he and his wife are so passionate about, and whether it's animals or the camp that the Petties have that we support. Those initiatives and the ability to help others is something that I'm so proud of our community, because you always step up so much, and this is just another great example of that. Yeah,
it's fun to help folks out. We'd always attend the Truex event and all those things, so it's fun to do.
That brings up an interesting question for me. I always like to ask guys who their favorite drivers ever are, and I mentioned the camp that Kyle Petty and Richard have for the kids here in North Carolina. He's on my list because he's my buddy. I lived with him.
Yep.
And my brother, of course, because I admired him, I wanted to be like him. And Dale Earnhardt. I tell people, drivers, those are my 3. Who are the 3 that you think of when you think of all the racing, and what guys maybe inspired you or changed your direction? And I know at the top of the list almost has to be Jack Roush, because he gave you this opportunity, but he's not a driver.
Right.
So
prior to me getting my opportunity, I was a huge Ernie Irvan fan.
Ah, that's cool.
Huge Ernie Irvan fan. And so it was Ernie Irvan, Mark Martin, and I was a closet Dale Earnhardt fan, because my crew chief buddy, great friend, still works for me today, Roger, he's like over the top Dale Earnhardt fan. Dale Earnhardt toolbox, and you got to have a rivalry, right? So we give each other, we shoot the bull back and forth about it, and give each other a hard time about who our drivers are, right? But those were kind of the those were the 3. And so as you look at those names on the list, my first job, my first opportunity, I'm become teammates with Mark Martin.
Yeah.
So it was a fairy tale thing for me.
And it's so cool that you mentioned Ernie.
Yeah.
California guy. I grew, we kind of started at the same time, basically racing together, and what a great guy Ernie is. I love your list.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Do you ever talk to Mark anymore?
I do. Yeah. I still talk to Mark, and
I always see him in his camper.
He loves that motorhome. Holy cow!
So you're racing an old Crown Vic or something, and he's riding around in a bus.
Yeah,
chilling.
Yeah, he loves it, and he's like been this close to coming to the desert, because he was in Indio for the winter, and his boss was some of his friends or whatever, and he's like he's an hour away.
Yeah,
and I'm like, and he said, "Oh, I want to come out." He'd be hooked.
Yeah.
He would be hooked. But I just haven't got him there yet.
You got me there. And when I was there in this buggy, I don't even know what I was driving, a rail or rail car or something. Anyway, I just know that I'm crazy. And I want to run up on those banks and go so fast.
Yeah.
But I also see that you could, mess up if you can't see where you're going.
Well, that's why you always want to be second. Because that's the only time in racing or driving you want to be second. Because you could follow that guy and he's not going to kill himself.
Right.
So I'm going to follow. And if he does something wrong, I'm not to stop before. So running second in line, I tell everybody when we go, that's the place you want to be.
Yeah.
Is you watch his car, you watch his whip. When he disappears real fast, there's a, it goes off the edge right there. So
don't go that way.
Creep up to it, And if he goes away slow,
yeah.
Well, it rolls off and you can jump or do whatever.
Isn't it almost one of like the eighth wonder of the world? The way that it's just spread out so far, and you see all these hills and the way you can jump, and it's just beautiful.
It's like you're in another place when you stop out there in the dunes and look around. It's so spectacular that Mother Nature's made something like that, and you're standing there just in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And there's about 8 or 10 places in the U.S. that are like that, and I enjoy going to all of them.
So I wanted to tell you, and I'm gonna ask you. I like to ask this question: what are your top 3 moments of your career? And it could be when Benny discovered you in Tucson, or it could be when you won the second Southern 500. And I'll just go ahead and tell you mine. Mine for you first was, I think this should almost be one. But the fact that you won the trucks, you won the Xfinity, and you won the Cup, or you were second in Cup. Like no one's been that close to all of them. Yeah. So that's maybe my first memory or the top moments for you, because that's a lot of accomplishments.
It is. I would say probably one accomplishment that you won't ever forget is the first time you won at that NASCAR level. And I won at Memphis in the trucks, my first win. And that was a great memory. Yeah. Being able to win there. But finishing second in the title for the Cup title, that was a bittersweet moment. We
for some reason I have in my mind Miami and it being nighttime, and you run in the 16 car, but I don't remember why you came up short.
Well, the reason why we ended up short was we left a lug nut loose in Texas. So we were right there in the hunt. I was running third at Texas. We probably had a car to win, and we ended up had a green flag pit cycle. They left a wheel loose. I had to come back. Uh-huh. And I ran that race went long green runs. And I never, as soon as the leader had passed somebody, the caution had come out.
And never got there?
It's the Jack Roush effect.
Ah.
So Matt had won it. Kurt had won it. And I was 2003, 4, 5, 2005, I was on my way to win it. I don't know. But the caution never came out. I never got my lap back, finished 20th. And then I lost the championship on the old point system, I lost it by, 6 positions, right?
And is that Jimmy's?
That was Jimmy's.
Then that's
first or second.
Yeah, I thought it was right when it started.
No, Tony Stewart.
Tony
Jimmy
Stewart must have been 6, 7, 8, like when he went crazy.
Yep. Yeah,
so Tony was a champion.
Tony beat me. And then the next week was Phoenix, and you and I raced a lot together in that. I remember you led a lot of that, ran third, second, third. Right. And we finished third or fourth.
Yeah, I ran second.
Yeah, and so I think I finished right behind you. So I finished third there, and then I went to Homestead and won. And unfortunately, I just ended up those points short.
Yeah.
We'd lapped Tony.
So fast forward, you contended for championships. You won races. Awesome racer. It gets to a point in 16, 17, your run with Jack is over, and
Yep.
and what I'm curious how'd that work for you when you're like, all right, I'm not gonna go back to Jack. What do I do? Did you have offers? Did you just decide you were gonna wait for the perfect offer, or did you say I'm done?
I think so. So I went to them early in August and said I had one more year of my contract, and I knew if I didn't do something now that I was going to be too old, which was on the verge of that, and thought I'm going to go try something different for the last twilight couple years of my career.
Yeah.
Right, I'll go drive just something else. And
they were cool with that. They're like, yeah, we had a good run, or were they like, I don't know?
Yeah, we had some negotiations and more negotiations and more negotiations, and then okay, we're gonna, try and work it out. And unfortunately, what happened is we weren't able to work it out, the separation. And I think it was a little bit of stalling or delaying on possibly on their part. But it wasn't until after Homestead, we were going to announce the week of Phoenix or before Texas, and then, let's do it next week, and we can't do it now, and let's do it this week, and it's championship week. Ford doesn't want us to do it now. So I got so bitter over the way it went down. I was sort of like, I'm kind of done with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back, and if a great opportunity comes up, then I'm going to jump on it. And I was very blessed. I had tons of opportunities and offers, and still do today. But I enjoy being. I kind of hate to tell everybody, but I enjoy being retired.
Well,
it's a lot of fun.
I have a, and that's kind of where I was transitioning to.
Sure.
I have a glimpse into why. I've been out to the dunes in Arizona and see your buggies and all the fun that is.
Yep.
And then also I'm envious. I want to be your co-driver in one of the 24-hour Lemons events.
Heck
because
yeah.
To me, that looks like as good as it gets. And so life after NASCAR, you've done it pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun racing a bunch of different stuff, and it's in our blood. We love to drive. We love to race. We love cars. And so it's something I can go do and enjoy. And the sand car, off-road cars are sort of that, my getaway for me. That, fills that void. But I still sit there and watch and look, go to some of the tracks and the drool out the corner of my mouth, because I want in there. I want to hold to that steering wheel, and I want to do it. So.
And you got in there.
I got in there.
What about that? I mean, I'll tell you from a former racer and your buddy, I loved your talk leading up to the weekend, because you're like, I don't know, I just hope I can be competitive.
Yep.
And I know you, so you're like, I'm winning the race, but you're not going to say that, because that'll get you over your skis.
That's right.
And it was very easy in that race in Texas to get out of control. We saw it repeatedly. And so talk to me about that. You were obviously very confident. What did you learn after the test that you had in April? Just a few laps on the track. And am I right? Did you think I could probably win, but I gotta just make sure I stay calm?
Yeah, I was nervous about it going into it, whether I could win or not. And there was a lot of pressure. Kyle won 5 out of 5. And Kyle
he's Kyle.
And Kyle told me after the Texas race, he's like, yeah, we weren't that good. He goes, we too tired them, got out front. And he goes, I had a hard time holding off that Friesen or whoever it was. It was way faster than I was. But and I'm like, oh, great. So now I got to go win. And so anyway.
That Texas race, though, the first one looked so different. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't like the notes that Rudy had from that. I didn't really see how they would work, because I don't know, it just seemed like it was much slipperier. They didn't have the grip stuff.
Yeah, the PJ1 wasn't down, and the groove was a lot different. But anyway, so first practice, I get out of the first practice, and my chest is pumped out a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's driving decent. I didn't have as much speed as I wanted. I'm a little faster than the 18 and the 4 of my teammates, which is sort of using as a baseline. Then second practice comes along, and Now I'm about 10th or 9th or whatever, and I still don't have that one lap speed. You know, I can't put down that fast lap. And then final practice, I'm 15th.
So it's getting worse.
And I'm like, this is not going well. My mock run was terrible because we couldn't get I got hung up with a lap car coming to get to green, and it was deathly loose in 1 and 2. And I'm like, man, this is getting harder. You know, This isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So, but the truck drove, you know, as well as I do. I got out of the truck and I told Rudy in between one of the practices, I said, if it were me, if this was a cup race and that was a cup car, I'd put it on jack stands. It drives so good. I can drive it easily. I turn the wheel off in the corner, breathe the throttle, hold it down. It just hooks the bottom. And I'm opening the wheel up coming off the corner. You've driven a car like that. And I go down to the other end, and it's the same. Easy, flat. Just doesn't wiggle, doesn't move around. I'm like, I can't do anything to this thing. And I'm like, that's it. I can win with that car.
And so when you talk about rolling off, we heard a lot of lifting in 1 and 2 during the race. How do you as an experienced racer understand, okay, I'm going to run wide open through 3 and 4. It's probably going to stick pretty good.
Yep.
And I'm going to have to work the throttle when I get down to turns 1 and 2. How do you balance that when you're telling your crew chief, oh, I'm lifting down here, it feels pretty good, I'm wide open now. What's that like? I've never driven a track that was so different, and I just was curious.
Yeah, and that's where they were getting the speed. They were driving it into 1 further than I was, and if I drove it in further, it would want to leave the bottom, and so I couldn't drive it in any further. I opened that corner up. I opened the corner way up, getting into 1, and about broke my ass in 1 and 2. You know, I let it came in there, and before I realized it, you know, I was kind of not paying attention, and it was real sideways.
Yeah,
getting over that transition. So I had to really watch that. But those guys got over that transition a little better and were able to square that corner off. So, but during the race, you know, you've been to races where those cars will put down some really fast laps.
And they go away.
And I talked to Kyle that night, and he said, yeah, that always happens. So before the race, the night before the race. So I felt pretty good about our truck. And, man, those guys took me to school early about drafting. And
well, and I noticed not only early, but there was a point in the race, I think it was after maybe during stage 2, where you had been up front, but you were 12th. And that's where you were riding.
I was saving gas.
That's what you were doing.
Yep.
And you needed that gas.
I needed that gas. We were about 3 laps short from when we pitted. And I didn't know if there was going to be any more cautions or not. But the other thing I knew is about 8 cars in front of us needed to pit still. There's no way they could make. So
you laid there on, and Rudy obviously is a genius. He's not going to miss a detail. He's like,
right,
chill.
Well, he didn't really say that, but I took it upon myself that we just pitted and all these guys stayed out, and they pitted. You know, they got 20 laps on their tires. Well, I know they can't make it, and so there's about 6 or 8 trucks on our we put on our last set of tires. And there's 6, 8 trucks on our fuel mileage or our run. We can just make the end. We're a little short, but we can all make the end. And I was surprised not everybody stopped and then just splash it with gas, right? If you need to. So it wasn't going to do me any good to go and race with all those guys that have to pit.
Love that.
I don't want to use up my tire racing with a guy that's got to pit.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll wait till the caution comes out. I'll move up, they can pit, start behind me on new tires, and now I haven't used up my tires.
Yeah.
And the caution never came until way late.
Yes.
So, and then when the caution came, I finally realized, or halfway through that run, I started going to the front. And I got up to 3rd, I think, or 4th, and the caution came out. And I'm like licking my chops because I'm like, okay, now I got these guys where I want them. You know, now I can race them. And they all pitted. The Crafton and those other guys, they pitted and took a splash of gas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I just didn't understand that.
Right.
And Rudy's like, I mean, we're fine, but we don't have any tires, but maybe we should come in and just put a little gas in it. I'm like, no,
That's cool that that you've been away for so long, but you're like, no, I'm good right now.
Because I saved for you.
Yeah.
That's what I did back there.
And how confident were you on that last restart that you had? I mean, I said on the broadcast, having 13 cautions was awesome for Greg Biffle.
Yeah.
Because he came into this race, he hadn't run a truck race since 04.
I needed those brakes to catch my breath.
Well, A, and then B, you also needed those reps.
Yeah.
You needed to see what it was like to have the restarts. And by the, you might fool Greg Biffle 12 times, but I bet you by the 13th time,
got it figured out.
He's going to have it all figured out.
Yeah. So, and then the funny part about it is I wanted the outside lane. And
that didn't seem like a great idea.
And I was looking in the mirror, and they're like, the spotter's telling me, okay, the guys are going to go by. And the 04 truck, the red truck, was behind me.
Corey Roper.
And I was waiting for him to go, and he pulls up beside me, and I'm kind of starting to warm my tires up, and he's starting beside me. So I didn't know he was second.
Oh, you were going to go to the right.
Yeah.
You were waiting for him to
go by.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to crowd him, and I was leaving room for cars to go by, but then he took the outside, and I was halfway down the backstretch, and I'm like, well, guess I'm starting on the bottom.
I wanted you on the bottom.
But I felt pretty good, that I was going to be able to beat him down in the corner, because I restarted behind him earlier, and I felt pretty good I was going to
be better than him
on that restart. So anyway, we were able to get a good jump there, and Matt was fast.
Yeah, he was right on you, and he.
Oh man, I was waiting for him to move me. I was ready to race him.
Right.
He got right to my bumper.
What? I know you let off in 1 and 2, and then you wide open 3. Is 1 and 2 really that much more difficult?
It is. It seems sharper.
Yeah.
Like 3 and 4 is just a lazy entry, and 1 and 2 kind of goes over that transition, and then kind of gets tight, and the exit's tight. So you have to drive it a lot different. And when I just breathe it and get it rotated good, I can get off the corner so much better. But I go down the backstretch, and I'm driving away from him a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I got him. And I start turning off nice and easy with the wheel, and it's flat. Yeah. And I'm like, he's catching me a little bit.
Right.
And I get down and the king compresses, and I look in the mirror, and I'm like, he's coming.
Right.
And I get off of 4 and halfway down the front. Man, he's like shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was funny in the competition meeting, Rudy's like, I could see you were lifting a little bit at 3 and 4. I'm like, no, you need to look at the data.
You just were a little better in 1 and 2, and that would gain you the gap you needed.
Right.
Is what it looked like.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised he didn't try the top, because I got the top working in 1 and 2 when I was coming to the front.
Yeah.
As soon as I would get a draft on him, I'd just go to I'd look down here a little bit, and I'd just go to the top.
You know what you did? You made a bunch of old people like me want to race a truck.
And
I bet you Kenny Wallace wants to race a truck, and Kenny
Schrader. We should all just go race them.
We got to get some trucks.
Yeah. Kyle's got about 6 or 8 over there.
Yeah. In fact, he's got 5 for sure, because I saw you're going to run another one or not?
Yeah, I think so.
You're going to do St. Louis?
Maybe.
It's called Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Worldwide Technology. That's what we're going to use there.
All right, I want to get on my my soapbox for a bit. So I raced since 1985 in NASCAR, and my job in 86, 87 was to I filled out the entry blanks. So it would come in the mail.
Well, you've done more than I could do, probably.
It would come in the mail, and you would write down your driver, your address, blah, blah, blah. You'd sign it, you'd put it in an envelope, and you'd send it back. Now, back then, they had entry deadlines. And I think, based on the Postal Service and the time when they mail the entry blanks and the time you send yours back, there had to be a deadline so they knew who was coming.
That's right.
So that's how it used to be. And in my opinion, in the world we live in today, when you can text someone, email them, you could DocuSign that
You're right.
and have it back in 5 minutes.
Right. Or less.
What the hell? Why do we have...
I can't explain it.
Why do we have an entry deadline?
I have no idea. I mean, it
Good.
makes no sense to me, but we mailed our entry blank in for Iowa, but it just got lost.
Yeah. That's not on you, is it?
No, it got lost in the mail.
All right. Well, I have a real problem with that because it just seems we do that because it's, Greg, it's the way we've always done it.
Right. Which we don't have flip phones anymore. We don't have ones that have big long cords on them and zzz.
Yeah.
We don't have those. So I understand that's the way we used to do it. We used to put a quarter in the phone if we wanted to call someone,
and we'd call someone who cares.
Right.
Like Travis Tritt.
I feel bad about it for a few reasons. One is the series was on a box. It was ESPN. How long has it been since the truck series has been talked about? And it was everywhere. And I feel bad for the series. I feel bad for NASCAR, and I feel bad for the team or myself not being able to go and run Iowa. That it was such a great thing,
right? And Marcus Lemonis and
what a
Andrew
great
Outdoors,
guy.
They've stepped up, and we had all this energy, and we're on the broadcast on Fox.
Yeah, we're
saying,
cheering.
This is going to be so fun.
Yeah, we're all excited. Everybody is.
And okay, so say that ship has sailed, and I guess it has. You won't be in Iowa, but you can still win a lot if you can go to St. Louis and perform.
Yeah. I'm excited about the chances, opportunity we have in St. Louis, and
I'm excited you're going. I really didn't know when I was hoping you'd tell me, but I really didn't know. I think it's so great you're going.
It's about the it's not really about the money. It's about the excitement of being able to win 2 of the 3. Right?
Yes.
It's like the Triple Crown. I mean, we don't talk about how much money they're going to win.
No.
We talk about being able to win all 3 of those.
Yeah, and you save money. If you don't win a dime, you're okay, right?
I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm having a lot of fun.
The thing that I think about is, it helps the team because it's obviously hard to make as an owner, make ends meet.
Right.
So the money's great. I wasn't worried about Greg, but I certainly wanted to see you have that opportunity because I know.
And I feel like I can help Todd and Burton a little bit.
I think so.
I mean, Harrison, I think that I want to help Rudy and those guys. And we had a competition meeting, and I talked to him about the racetrack and some things I learned, and I was very impressed because Harrison Burton and Todd Gillen paid attention and listened to me, what I had to say, and asked me questions. And I like that. Because they want to learn.
I was going to say that'll make you young again. Like when kids look up to you, like this veteran, he took time to come race with us. Plus he beat us, and now he's here to help us. That's got to be a great feeling for you.
Yeah, and all the years I spent Xfinity or Cup racing over at Roush, we had 5, 6 Xfinity teams, and all those guys were there. Not one of them came and asked me a question about a track, a corner entry, a help, anything. So for these guys to pay attention and ask questions, that tells me something, that they're going to be okay. And Todd had a great run. But he just needs to temper that a little bit. There was a guy on my right side twice down to 3 and 4, and that thing was doing this, and I just said, this isn't, the white's not out.
Right.
So I said, now's not the time.
Well, we talked a lot about your career and life after NASCAR, which I appreciate what you do with the sand dune cars and being able to do the 24-hour lemons. And now this,
will you come and drive for me?
I want to be your co-driver, 100%.
Love it.
I love all that kind of stuff. I got to race the 24-hour Le Mans, so I've got to do the 24-hour lemons.
That's right.
So the thing that I'm most thankful of, is that you got this opportunity to go race in Texas, and you made the most of it. But the thing that makes me smile is your 7-year-old Emma is sitting over there, and the last time you won a race, she was there, but she was won. And I asked her, do you remember? No. But this is something that she will never forget, celebrating a big win with you, and that is so precious.
Yeah, it is. Come here, Emma.
come over.
It was exciting, and yeah, she got to be there with Grandma and everybody. So it was a fun time. It's something she'll always remember. It may be Daddy's last win or last race. You never know, right?
And you know what I love about that? When you're 35 or so, you think when you win, yeah, this might be my last win ever, which it probably won't be. You might get another one. But when you're in your late 40s, it really might be your last one ever.
That's right.
And get to share it with her.
Yep.
That makes me smile.
Yep. It was fun time.
And those pictures will last forever.
That's right. That's right. We got some pictures in Victory Lane, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, appreciate so much you coming over and saying
Absolutely.
hi and getting to spend some time with you. I'm glad the truck race win happened because I missed you, and we had something to talk about. And I'm going to hold you to let me race the old number 69 with you.
That's it. December, Road Atlanta.
All right. I'm there.
All right.
Wow. So many memories. I can't believe Greg Biffle came and retired, and I was here for the whole thing. And that's why the win at Texas was so fun for me to be a part of, to call and watch him do the job he did down there. Thank you, Greg, for being a part of our show. I cannot wait for this weekend. It's going to be so much fun watching these Cup cars go left and right, hop the humps, do the S's, run the carousel. They hadn't done that since, heck, back in when I used to drive. And that was a fun trip around that race course, too. So that'll be fun for you to watch. So be sure to tell all your friends to add Waltrip Unfiltered via their favorite podcast app. And then give us a 5-star rating. We're going to be here for you all year long, talking to the stars of NASCAR. And I look forward to conversing with you next week. We'll have another great guest, and we'll have another great time. Thanks so much for listening.